Today we're going to talk about some famous Egyptian pharaohs, and I'm going to show you their family trees and where they fit along the timeline of ancient Egyptian history. I'm going to use this ancient Egypt history and mythology chart, which is available as a poster from my website usefulcharts.com. Now, the first thing you need to know about Egyptian history, if we look at the timeline on the left, is that it can be divided into various dynasties, and that's what these numbers stand for. So when someone talks about Dynasty 5, you can see exactly where on the timeline that occurred. Now, Egypt's power went up and down over the centuries, and so there were three main periods where Egypt was a very powerful nation. We have the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom. And in between these, we get times where there were various invaders and where the power was weaker. So I also want to point out, let's look at the map here for a second, that Egypt really, there was two different Egypts. There was Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt. Lower Egypt was centered on Memphis, which is near modern-day Cairo, whereas Upper Egypt was centered on Thebes, which is where you find modern-day Luxor. Now, the Old Kingdom was centered in Lower Egypt, and the Middle and Upper Kingdoms were centered in Upper Egypt. Now, you might think it a bit confusing why Upper Egypt's here at the bottom, but it's called Upper, and the top one's called Lower. This refers to their position along the river. So Upper Egypt is upriver, the higher terrain up here than down here. So that's why it's called Lower and Upper. Okay, let's look at the Old Kingdom first. The most important dynasty of the Old Kingdom was the fourth dynasty. And we're going to go down here to the fourth dynasty family tree. And it was during the fourth dynasty that most of the really big pyramids in Egypt were built. So the first pharaoh here that we need to know is, his name was Sneferu. Again, I apologize if I'm not getting the pronunciation quite right. He was one of the first to build really large pyramids. He built pyramids called Doom Pyramid, the Bent Pyramid, and the Red Pyramid. And we'll take a look at those in just a second. But it was his son, who's named Khufu, who is more well known. This pharaoh is the one who built the Great Pyramid at Giza. And actually, if we look down here, from this angle, this pyramid looks small, but it's actually the largest one. It's the largest pyramid in Egypt. It's called the Great Pyramid, or Khufu's Pyramid, and that's the one he built. And he had two sons. His first son, who became pharaoh after him, Djedefre, also built a pyramid, but that pyramid has since been destroyed, or perhaps it was never finished. So sometimes it's referred to as the Lost Pyramid. But after this individual, Khufu's other son, Khafre, became pharaoh, and he built the second pyramid at Giza. So it's the one in the middle, and it's the one that has this strange cap still on it. And he also is usually credited as having built the Sphinx as well. You can't see the Sphinx in this picture. It's on the other side, but it's next to this second pyramid in the middle. Okay, so Khafre had a son, Menkaura, who became pharaoh after him. And Menkaura built this third and final of these three large pyramids at Giza. And as well, he built these three little guys here called the Queen's Pyramids. And then his son became pharaoh after him. He finished his father's pyramid but did not build his own. So this family here, the fourth dynasty family, they're the ones who built most of the famous pyramids in Egypt. And let's go up here. I have a little diagram of the pyramids. So the Red Pyramid which is located here, over here in Dashur, was built by Sneferu. Sneferu also built this pyramid, which is called the Bent Pyramid, and that's also located in Dashur. And he also built this pyramid, which we now call the collapsed pyramid, because you can only see the inner structure. There would have been a triangle like this, which is no longer there, and that was located at Maidum. Then we get the famous pyramids are at Giza, the Great Pyramid of Khufu, and then the Pyramid of Khafre in the middle, which has the Sphinx, and then the Pyramid of Menkaure, which is quite a bit smaller. These are in order of size. You can look at the height numbers here to get a little bit of an idea of how they compare with each other. Some of these other pyramids that you see here, these were built, these ones in the purple, were built in the Middle Kingdom. And then here also I've mentioned the Lost Pyramid of Djedefre. We can guess at how big it might have been, but we're really not sure. So that's the Old Kingdom of Egypt. And when we think of Egypt, we usually think of the pyramids. And so if we're thinking about the pyramids, we're thinking about this period of Egyptian history, the Old Kingdom, and we're thinking of Lower Egypt. Secondly, I want to talk about the New Kingdom. And the New Kingdom, the most important dynasty, was the 18th dynasty. So let's go down here and look at that. Okay, so the 18th dynasty starts with Thutmose I, and he has two important children from two different wives. There was Hatshepsut, who became the most famous and powerful female pharaoh in the history of Egypt, and also Thutmose II, who became pharaoh after him. Now, these two individuals were half siblings. They were also married. It was a very common practice in ancient Egypt. But what happened was, after Thutmose II died, his son Thutmose III was still very young and therefore unable to take the throne. So that is why Hatshepsut became pharaoh and reigned on behalf of Thutmose III. But Thutmose III eventually did grow up and take power and become pharaoh. And then the line continues through his son and grandson and great-grandson. And all these pharaohs reigned during a very powerful period of Egyptians' history. But here at the bottom is where we get some well-known names. So Amenhotep III had a son named Akhenaten. Actually, originally he was known as Amenhotep IV, but he famously switched Egypt from polytheism, the worship of many gods, to monotheism, the worship of just one god. And he changed his name to Akhenaten. And the period when he reigned is called the Amarna period of Egyptian history. And his wife was the famous queen Nefertiti. Now, he also had a son, the famous King Tut, whose tomb was found in the 1920s, full name Tutankhamun. And it's now known that Tutankhamun was the product of Akhenaten and his sister. And Tutankhamun became pharaoh after Akhenaten. And he reverted Egypt back to polytheism. But shortly after, Tutankhamun, the 18th dynasty, comes to an end. And during the 19th dynasty, I should mention, that's when Ramses II, sometimes thought of as being Egypt's most powerful pharaoh, that's when he reigned. And then if you're wondering about Cleopatra, she comes in here all the way at the end during a period called the Ptolemaic Kingdom. I also want to remind you that these 18th dynasty pharaohs from the New Kingdom The New Kingdom was centered on Upper Egypt, and so most of the pharaohs from that period are buried at in a place called the Valley of the Kings. Okay, they were not buried in the pyramids like the Old Kingdom pharaohs. So Lower Egypt associated with the Old Kingdom, Upper Egypt associated with the New Kingdom. So this chart also covers some of the Middle Kingdom pharaohs, also covers the Egyptian gods family tree and some information about hieroglyphs as well. And if you want a copy of this whole thing as a poster, it's available on my website over at usefulcharts.com. Thanks for watching.